it's Rachel Haskins with another episode of Ideally Crazy. Today I have another special guest on, and this is
Toya Traynor.
And I've known Ms.Toya Traynor for a few years now. We met through a mutual friend, another nurse friend of mine. And so we've been out before, and so I like to network and I like to meet, especially women, because I know that right now in our society that we are really getting busy and we're getting down to the business. We've always been there, but it's like for some reason it's like been a huge push forward with that.
Girl power.
You hear me? And so when talking to Toya, I realized that she owned a tax company. Not only did I realize that, one thing I always say that I always when I'm meeting new people, I'm looking for something that we have in common. Toya is a mother, and I noticed just in her conversation and how she was talking about, well, let me know because trying to see if the boys hit a game or something like that, that she was a good mom, and so I was already a fan there because that was actually the first thing I noticed about you is that not only was you a mom, but you was a good mom. And when you're a good mom, you know a good mom because literally your whole schedule at that, while they're still underage, is based around what they have to do. I always say that I'm a mom first. And so when you hear other people in conversation saying that what type of mom you're dealing with there. But after that, I found out that she was a business owner, and I was like, that's dope, especially with taxes. Ideally Crazy has a lot to do with entrepreneurs and leaders that have walked their journey and how God has blessed them because, what my goal is to help you to see yourself through God's eyes. Yeah. And that just means to see all your gifts and talents that God has already put inside you because you already have everything that you need. And so with bringing people, other entrepreneurs on like Ms.Toya, this is a way that they can tell you their story and to encourage you. Okay. And so one thing I wanted to bring her on because one thing we all need as entrepreneurs is taxes. I mean, not just entrepreneurs, as yourself, there's a way to make your taxes work for you. And so it was very important that she come on here because I want you to know that there are people out here that are, ready and willing to help you. What I like about, smaller tax businesses is that you get individualized attention. Mm-hmm. And I like to know my people. Yes. And so because they know you, when people get to know you, I always say, even as a nurse, when people get to know you, when I get to know you as your nurse, by day 2 or 3, and really probably toward the middle of that ship, I know what you like, how you like to take your pills. I know when you want your pain medicine. I know if you want this door shut or not. So I get to know a little bit more about you. And so that's why I created my concierge nursing business because I would always tell my patients, not only are you getting a nurse, you're getting a host.
I tell people all the time with the taxes that we're not just tax professionals. We're therapists, we're mediators, we're all the things. So
absolutely. And that's what I like about having someone like you to do my taxes. I even told my mom, I said, the lady that I'm bringing over today, I said, she does taxes. So, you might want to get her information after we leave. But I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about herself, and then we'll get into the questions.
So like Rachel said, my name is Toya Traynor, and I own Truth Tax and Accounting Service, which is a full service accounting firm here in Louisville, Kentucky. But as we'll talk about in a little bit, we're able to service people throughout all the United States. And then I am a mom of 3 grown sons now. I got to quit saying boys, but 3 grown sons now. My youngest plays basketball collegiately, so most of my life is following him all around and screaming at the top of my lungs and acting like a crazy lady and probably embarrassing him. But my primary focus, like I said, is my business. It's my baby now, and my clients, and just trying to build and grow.
Absolutely. So we're going to get right into our questions. Motherhood and motivation. As a mom of adult sons, how has motherhood influenced the way you approach life, business, and success?
Well, I always say I've been a mom my whole entire life because with family issues and things, I kind of helped raise my 2 little sisters.
Okay.
And then I had my son, my oldest, at a very early age, at 17. So most of my life, I've been someone's mom. And I used to think that was necessarily a bad thing because I started so young and it was not easy. But now I realize that was what I was supposed to do. Like, God doesn't put more on us than what we're supposed to handle. And it just, I feel like, made me fall into my natural role, which is to be a leader and to be a nurturer and to caretaker. And so that's also kind of translated into business, because hard work, if you want to be an entrepreneur or professional career, period, it takes hard work. It takes dedication. Most of the time that my children were young, I would always want that steady 9 to 5 paycheck because, you have children. But now that they're grown, is the time for me to kind of step out here and be able to take a little more risk by going out on my own. So that's why I decided to do it now instead of before.
Sure. I completely understand what you're saying. I have done my businesses before, so I have a concierge nursing business called First Premier Concierge Nursing, and the first place I did that was like in Miami, and it was successful. But like you said, life store life, and I had to come back home, and there was a need for me to be here like all the time.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, I really love that. I want to do that. I just couldn't shake that feeling. And so I went, I started it back up this time, but it's Louisville based,
Right.
It's home based. And like you said, when I was making that decision, I was praying to the Lord. I was like, well, Lord, is this nursing, when I was in Miami, I was like, is this nursing business going to work? Right. And he was like, it's going to work. I said, but what would I have to sacrifice? Because I always want to know that too, because I don't want it just at any cost. I want it, at a reasonable cost. Like I like to, in any business thing, I want to know what the exchange is.
Right.
And so the Lord had just put on my heart, he was like, but you'll be sacrificing, because you have to be so engulfed in that business and be down there, my children growing up. And right. I'm like, yes, you're going to be a mother for the rest of your life, but those 18 years that you get where they're underneath your roof, they're very critical in forming, relationships, bonds, and even building them and pouring into them so that they can live the life and be the people that they need to be in life. And I did not want to miss that.
I think scared mouths don't get fed either. And sometimes being an entrepreneur, I think people on TV, these podcasts, everything, it makes it, glorifies it, and makes it, but they leave out the days when you don't know if you're going to be able to pay this or do this or whatever. And so doing that and having small children, especially if you're a single mom, it's very scary. So you have to definitely balance it and make sure. Even when I decided to step out, I had to I got a job that was remote first while I was making sure this business was going to do what it does, because you still got
babies. Yeah, exactly. And just having the responsibility, I still have babies that I have to take care of. And I don't mean babies, but, children that I have to take care of. And they're always going to be my babies. And I said, the Lord kind of I was praying about it. And then all of a sudden, I didn't know, but they say trust the Lord. And his timing is the best timing. So, he had put into me to go ahead and start this business back up, the concierge nursing business back up, which I just did this past August. Of 2025. The next thing I noticed is Israel decided, my son, I already have a son that's in college, but Israel decided she wanted to graduate a year early. So he was like, I'm taking a little bit more, I'm making more room on your plate so that you can handle a little bit more. Right. And so I was like, okay, God, I trust you. And just slowly building it back up where I can still because, it's a tough senior year, so I'm not going to miss nothing there either. But just, God showing me how, now is the right time, like you said, because now I can be full throttle. Now I still have a job because I still have to provide. Right. But I'll know when, and I've already prayed when God is like, okay, then it's time for you to leap. And I said, one of my prayers is, Lord, when it's time for me to leap, let me leap. I said, and help me to be obedient at that. And let me know. And so a lot of things you don't always have to worry about. When they say don't worry about if you're going to know the right time, you're not going to know the right time. But we do know somebody who does. Amen. So when I say I like to lay my burden at his feet, at God's feet, that's what I like to do. If I think I'm not going to know, guess what? I know somebody who does. So I lay it at his feet and I just pray for the spirit of obedience so that when I do get a hint, or when he does tell me, that I do what he tells me to do. Right. So we'll talk about professional journey. What led you into the world of accounting, tax preparation, and insurance? And what do you enjoy most about helping clients in these areas?
So when I went to college, originally I was actually going for medical, but then I had my first accounting class and I loved it so much, which it's kind of one of those things you either love it or hate it. Most people hate it. But I switched. And thankfully I had an old school accounting teacher. This was, I'm telling my age, but this was before there was computers. We had typewriters and all the good stuff. And she wanted you to do things by hand and like really learn it. And I really learned a lot and I loved it. And then when I graduated, I mostly did just general accounting. But about 15 years ago, I took a position for someone who owned a bunch of franchise tax offices. And so for 10 years, I ran those for her. The thing I love the most is interacting with the clients and educating. I'm big on education. So like just being able to explain things to people and seeing that light bulb go off in their head when they're like, oh, no one's ever explained it to me that way, or I didn't know that. So that's probably the thing that I enjoy the most.
Okay. And the thing is, there's always a need. What I love about when people have different specialties is that when they do what they enjoy doing. And the reason why that's so special is because one thing I always tell people is God is not asking you to do something that you really don't like doing.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you want to do something every day, but He's not going to have you do something that you just hate doing. And one thing when I was listening, you guys know I like to listen to a lot of inspirational messages, and what they said is that get to read your Bible, because by reading your Bible you get to know the character of God. That way you know, like what I'm saying is God's not asking you to do things that you hate doing. There's a gift within you that is, beneficial to not only you but to others, and that's how you create something in which you can be successful and help others. A business.
Right. And your gift doesn't always, like, I think sometimes we get stuck. Like I was even going through that for a little while. Like, okay, Lord, what's my purpose? I see other people, they know exactly what their purpose is. Was my purpose really just to do taxes for the rest of my life? Whatever. But I realized my purpose is to teach and to educate. Well, that could go in so many different fields. So because you find your purpose, it may not be a particular career path, or you may have your hands in multiple things, but you're still fulfilling your purpose.
And like you said, it's not taxes, it's teaching. And so I understand taxes well to teach it, but I can do this in any area because anything that I have information on, I love spreading that information with other people. And so that's, a lot of times ask yourself what you like when you're trying to find your purpose.
Yes.
Because that's where you'll find it. And when I say ask, start writing it down. And I'm not one of those people that knew right off what I wanted to do. I absolutely did not. For years, even with entrepreneurship, I tried to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. One thing I've always liked to do is talk. So you guys know I have Ideally Crazy, which is what this is. And I've always liked to encourage people and build. And so that's something I've literally done my entire life. But nursing was something I did in my adulthood. And so even within nursing, like she said, it's, I love to help people. That doesn't mean that I actually love to, care in that way, because my gift is different. I'm a thinker. I like to strategize on ways to help you. And so, like you said, I like to educate, and I also like to find ways. If you call me, I pretty much can figure out some kind of solution for you, especially when it comes to nursing. And nursing is such a small community that, like I said, I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that has something to do with that specialty.
Right.
And that's what I love about that, because even within nursing, like you said, even with accounting, there's going to be a part of it. There's a niche for you.
Right.
And you just keep stricken it away, keep stricken it away. And one thing I was doing I was doing something this weekend that I didn't want to do. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And and that's important. It's important because it's going to guide your interventions as nursing steps are the steps that you take. And so when I figured that out, I was able to, okay, so how do I formulate this to where it fits my niche? Because at my age, I've already had, it's not, everybody has a period where they have to do what they have to do. You know what I'm saying? But you have to know that God promises that there's going to be a better way in order to make money and that you can be happy. And I know that I'm in that season.
Right.
So it's just, getting closer and closer to that niche so that I know what it is that I'm trying to do.
I've learned that too. Like you also like, I'm at that place, thankfully. When you first start a business, you're like, take whatever client, whatever money you can get because you need to build this business. But now, thankfully, I'm at a place, like you said, where I can say, you know what? I know who my client is, and nah, I don't want to deal with that, or I don't want to deal with this, or no, that's going to be too much, or whatever. Or that's something that's not my specialty. So I'm going to tell you, you should probably go to someone else for that. But being okay with yourself as a woman, also to be able to say, I don't have to just take whatever is offered to me. Like I can pick and choose the things that I want to do. So, but it takes time to get to that.
It takes time. It takes time. And then do those processes. Do you truly learn what you enjoy? I was telling my daughter something. I was like, I remember when I got my dream job. And it ended up not being my dream job. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you don't even know what you like until you actually get there and experience. Experience is a teacher within itself. Yes. And so when I got what I thought was my dream job, I was like, oh no, this is not what I wanted. So that even taught me to pray more. Like, because what we were talking about is when I was about to put her in a different school, and I was like, Lord, should I try to, get her into this school? And I was like, I told the Lord what I want. I said, I want her to have a peaceful high school experience. I want her to be happy. I want her to be involved. I just want her to be just because Israel's an easy going. She's a happy child.
Right.
And her peace matters. And so I just wanted that for her. And so I remember I was at work and one of the other nurses said to me, I was telling her about how I was trying to get her into this other school. She said, is she happy where she is? And I was like, yes. She said, well, leave her there. She said, two of my daughters went to that school and then and my niece. She said, when I tell you they were fighting all the time, she said, if she's happy and you're happy and y'all have peace there, stay there. Mm-hmm. So just literally, God answered my prayer. And up until this point, she has, and even, and I'm believing for even further because this is Lord willing, this our last year. She's happy. She's been at peace. She's had no problems. She gets in, even with the dance performances, she gets into, she can just be her little happy little self there. And so like, just, believing that God has the answer, even when we don't, because sometimes you get what you want and don't want it.
And be still.
Be still.
Sometimes that's my hardest one. Mm. I struggle with faith, and not so much faith in the Lord, but I am a perfectionist and I'm a control freak, which is why I'm in the profession that I'm in. And I will pray about it, but then I want to pick it right back up and try to come up with all these solutions and fix it. And sometimes you need to just pray about it and be still and let him work. And let the answer come that way instead of you going through all these loop-de-loops just to get back to where he was trying to get you to be.
If you had just waited. And I'm learning that. And that's what I love about these conversations, because I always say each person is going to reach a different person in my audience.
Right.
And so all our struggles, I know that one of you is struggling with, because the people I'm listening to, the reason why they inspire me, they struggle. I'm like, oh, for real? And like she said, it's not even like that you don't have faith, but I always say that two things can coincide at the same time. You can have faith and still have a little bit of doubt. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so, and especially right now, because even with my business and growing them and different things and talking about what I wanted to do, because I was talking to my business partner, I'm like, Lord, I know you're going to do it. I said, but am I worried? Am I concerned a little bit? I said, yes.
I talk to him like I talk to anybody else. Like I talk in the shower. Don't judge me, y'all. No. But I'll be taking a shower and we talk. And I'll be like, look here, Lord, because lately for me personally, life has been life. And I'm like, I know I'm strong, but come on now. Look here. What we doing over here? So it's okay. He wants us to question him. He wants us to ask. He wants us to do those things. It's okay.
It's absolutely okay. And I want to say, like, y'all know I'm a very transparent person. Well, my show, Ideally Crazy, had to go on hold because my parents had to get their floors restained. And even then we ain't got the furniture back up, but the floors are done. We could work around it. But what I realized even last week, at first I was going to try to find a way around it, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to push against the flow.
Right.
If the normal room's not ready. And what it is, I had a time last week. I was spiritually struggling with a lot of different things. And I needed that time to just relax, get into my word real good. You know what I'm saying? When
Regroup.
I tell you, I really needed the time. So when I tell you trust God's timing, now how perfect was that God gave me that time to draw me closer to Him?
Right.
And I was like, even coming down, like I remember last week I was telling my mom, I said, you know what? I always feel like I have to be the bigger person. So I want to tell y'all that don't feel bad if you feel like you always have to be the one that's the big person. What I mean by that is I feel like I'm the one that always has to do the forgiving. I feel like that when there's something to be done, like if nobody else has to do it, that's like on my level, I still am expected to do it. You know what I'm saying? And then just to be put, on the same level as somebody who's absolutely not doing it.
Right.
And so I'm like, I always have to overlook, underhanded comments and ask God to keep my heart. You know what I'm saying? And so you can do that. And the truth of the matter is that's what you should do. And it doesn't mean that it's easy. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't start to weigh on you. And it doesn't mean that you're always okay with it. And sometimes you just have to, because a lot of times I don't even verbalize that.
Right.
Like I just keep going and I'll be like, I'll pray and get through it. But I had, that last week I was like, I'm tired of it.
Right.
And so I had to get down to the nitty gritty and just say that. And then when God could speak to me, He was like, you know what, Rachel? Look at all the characters in the Bible. Every last one of them had to be bigger. And that's how I knew that I could trust them with what I was going to give. Right. But when I tell you it don't feel good, it don't feel good. And while you're going through it, it doesn't feel good while you're going through it. Mm-mm. But it's a blessing just to be able to have that heart, to be able to forgive.
Yeah.
To be able to be happy and things not, hang on to you. And it's not that you're not going to have periods in which you need to regroup, because that's normal.
Right.
But, some people are never at peace.
No.
And I don't have that problem. And so I love our testimonies, saying these testimonies on here with you guys, because I'm like, I know I'm not the only one.
No.
And I want you to know that you're absolutely normal. Nothing's wrong with you. You're not crazy. It happens to all of us. And to just use that time when you're going to do that, sometimes God will let you go through things just to draw you closer to Him. Yeah. I had to repent for some things because I had showed up, in a situation completely different than who I was. And I was a little bit ashamed about it. And I was like, and I don't mean like a mean, nasty type of situation, but just in a little, situation. I didn't feel like I, represented myself for who I was. But even with that situation, I said, what they always say is, if it's not all good, it's not all done.
Well, and the Bible is full of stories.
Oh my goodness.
Of imperfect people.
And
He had those stories put in there for a reason. Because that's who we are. And if we're made in His image, then a lot of our characteristics that we view as flaws and we view as weaknesses and they come from Him. So it's okay. No one is perfect. Yeah. We're all going to make mistakes. For me in life, it's all about finding the lesson. So if I go through something, I'm always one to never regret anything, because there's always a lesson. Uh-huh. And if I can find the lesson, then the trauma, the pain, the whatever it is that you were going through, you didn't go through it for anything. Recently, my sister passed away, and it happened on my birthday while I had just got out of town. And so I'm the one in my family, probably like you, who handles everything, right? Everybody calls me, I'm the one to do it. And so I was devastated that I wasn't here to get everybody and fix everybody and comfort everybody. But God taught me a very powerful lesson in that, because my sons, my mom, my parents, they all stepped up and were there for each other and handled things probably better than I probably would have handled them if I was here. So that was His way of telling me, okay, you can sit down sometimes. And you've taught them and you can learn. So I'm not saying I'm not grieving and dealing with the stuff, but again, find the lesson in what we're supposed to deal with. And then the during and after effects don't hit so hard. You know what I'm saying? Because you got something from him.
Because you got something from him. And what my mom has a friend, she says, hunt for the good. And so like she said, and the good is the lesson in it. And through that lesson, what I learned is, even with that situation, I said, you know what? I said, Rachel, from the beginning, you lowered your standard.
Right.
I said, and so what I learned from that, I said, don't lower your standard, because ladies, when you lower your standard, you'll go all the way to hell. You hear me?
What?
So don't lower your standard. Because certain things I do, period. I'm like, if this person do this, off. You know what I'm saying? And that's in general, and that's with any kind of relationship. Because, to me, it's red flags. And we've been out here long enough to kind of know how things transpire. And so I said, that just taught me, like, you have every reason to feel the way that you feel.
Right.
And trust yourself. And the reason why that's important for me to learn, because in business, a lot of what you are going to do, faith is just that. It's not that you're just trusting yourself. You're trusting God to lead you into the right path for your business. Right. So God ain't got time to be playing with me about whether I'm trusting myself or not. You know what I'm saying? Baby, I didn't bring you this far for you just to forget everything that I done taught you and everything you done learned on the way.
Yes.
So it's like sometimes God will be like, you get it? Okay. Because I need you to have it in this next season. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Find the lesson in it. And then God also says, I don't come to condemn. So don't let it be no shame in it. And anybody that's trying to put shame on you, rebuke it, because that's their spirit. That's not, and you have to know it's not the spirit of God. Read your word. Right. So you can get to know his character. Right. When you ask for forgiveness, not 10 years from now, but in that very moment, God forgives you right then and there. Right. And then not only does he forgive it, he says he throws it into the sea of forgetfulness, which means he don't even think of it no more. So the only person that's hanging on to it is maybe you or somebody else, but you shouldn't care what nobody else think about you. You got to worry about yourself. Aim to do better. Right. But always, one thing I always say about me is, I said I can always forgive myself. Right. And so I would like to encourage you to adopt that mind frame, because what do you do? What do you do if you don't forgive yourself? Well, now where does that lead you? Depression. And how could you help somebody from there? You can't.
And it's wasted energy.
It's wasted energy. And so we don't want to stay there. All right. I'll move on to the next question.
We don't preach to it.
You hear me? Building trust. Taxes and insurance can feel overwhelming for many people. How do you make these processes simpler and less stressful for your clients?
Well, I am big on this one. So like I said, education, but my business is called Truth Taxes, primarily because when I do spoken word, some people don't know that about me, but sometimes I do spoken word. Okay. My name is Truth Tax. Truth hurts. But I've always been very blunt and straight up. And I believe that that's how it should be in business as well. And so my prices are posted directly on our website. So there's no guessing, like you get in there, we do it, and then come back later and like, oh, you got to owe us this amount. Everything is straightforward. I try to make things customizable for everybody. So like this person, I might only see them at tax time. This person, I might do things for them every month, but we have packages that fit everybody. So then that kind of builds that trust. The other thing is, like I said, I'm big on education. And a lot of times people would ask me, well, why do you show the people what you're doing for them or how to do taxes or explain it to them? Because if you explain it, what would they need you for? But it's the complete opposite. When you show people or teach people or give people free game, they trust you more. And it's like, hey, thank you for teaching me that, but I don't want to do it. But here you go.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Normally, we don't have the time for it. And it would cost us more money and we would have a bigger loss rather than just paying somebody to do it.
Right. Yes. And for me, starting my business on its own itself was like a big deal, kind of like a testimony, how you're saying. Like COVID, like the rest of us in 2020, it kind of changed things for me. And I was in a marriage where I was unhappy. And I was in a job where I wasn't really appreciated and had been there for a long, long time. And so, you know what? My son was getting ready to go to college. I said, anything that does not serve me, I'm done with. And I prayed to the Lord about it. And so I removed myself from that toxic situation. And then I quit my job that I'd been at all that time. And I didn't plan on starting my business right away. I literally reserved the name on my birthday in 2020. Thinking, okay, girl, I'm going to give you 2 years to get this up and running. But clients wouldn't let me go away for those 2 years. And so it ended up starting and it's just taken off from there. And I took another job that was remote to like kind of make sure this was going to do what it does. But then it, kind of took off from there. And in January of 23, I was able to quit my job. And now I've been 100% with the business. And now I have an employee and payroll to pay and all these things. So just trust your gut and take a little chance. That also was big. But back to the trust, like that, I feel like me being transparent and honest with my clients about how I got where I am and how I, even telling somebody, I'm not sure on that, if we should do that or not, or I'm not sure on the rule on that. I'm pretty sure I know, but let me do a little research and I'll get right back to you. You would think that would make people like, I don't know. The tax code is humongous. There's no way you can know every single thing. And then with our administration, it changes all the time. So people trust you if you're willing to be honest and transparent.
Absolutely. And that's when you were talking, that's what I heard, transparency. And one thing I know that everybody wants when it comes to their money is transparency.
Right.
And so one thing, a saying that I always like to say that I apply to business and everything else is the Bible says first naturally, then spiritually, but sometimes I always like go back and double check it. But I always say, God always tells you what it's going to cost you up front. There's no question. He's not, he says, trust him, follow my word, ask for forgiveness, repent. He tells you what he needs you to do to get the things that you want.
Yes.
And to love others. And so, different things like that. I said, so normally in business, when somebody is transparent, they tell you what it's going to cost up front.
Yes.
It's a good sign of a person who has integrity and has a good standard that you want to work with. Because transparency is just that before you even ask me, I'm going to tell you.
Right.
So that it ain't no, slipping around. And that's even with my concierge nursing business, my price, like on my flyers, my prices were posted. And I know that was one of the things that I was questioning, like, should I do that? Or should I not? Because sometimes they were like, well, sometimes it cheapens it. I was like, no, I said, you can't cheapen the quality of care that I give. I said, and I want to lean toward the understanding of that. It lets people know that this is a straightforward business, honest. You have something to compare it to. I want to be, because like you said, this is a business, but this is my dream.
Right.
But I want to do business with people that it's meant to do business with.
So
the people that it attracts, I want it to attract, and the people that it doesn't, I'm fine with, because that's what I want. That wasn't my client anyway. And so pretty much setting the business up how I view things and how I want, and the things that I would want to see. Because I know the quality of the business is me. I'm the business, I'm literally myself and my business partner. We are the business. And I know the type of nurses that we are. I know the experience we have under our belt and the education that we have. So, just making those small decisions, like you said, and trusting yourself, and then just leaping out on faith. It was a little bit difficult for me to start this back up. I had started thinking about it a few years back, because basically when I came back, because I started mine during COVID too. I was a little bit worried, because most cosmetic surgeries are done in Miami. When I started business there, I was at the hub of cosmetic surgery nursing. So it was a little bit different bringing it in here. And so, but what that did is I said, well, we're not just going to do cosmetic surgery,
right?
Because I don't just take care of cosmetic surgery patients in the hospital. I have different, so we have like wellness, and, we have PCAs that can sit with your loved one, if you need somebody. So it just actually helped me to expand the business that I have, as far as our structure. Holistic Living Girls Guide was my first Facebook Live type of podcast show. And so I just wanted to reform that. It had the same mission is to teach people to love themselves. And I wanted to start bringing different guests on, because I'm not the only one that had a testimony to tell.
Right.
And just by telling my story, I always say that, I was talking to my business partner, and, we were just talking about going to church. I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, I grew up in the Pentecostal church. I said, but I was taught about God, but there was no introduction and like a relationship until COVID, when I was at home by myself. I said, so that's one reason why God will have a lot of us tell our testimony, because like I said, each one of us is going to reach somebody else. And what I told her, I said, there's nowhere that you could go that God is not. There's nowhere that man could put you, or you could put yourself that God would not be with you.
Right.
And so when he introduced himself to me, I was at home and alone. But that introduction to there was how you know it happens is there's no way that anybody could ever make me believe that he didn't exist.
Right.
So from that point on, I knew that we were locked in.
Right.
And that I knew that that he would never leave me, that I would have to stray away from him. And even if I do sometimes, or if I have sometimes, that he's always welcoming me back, and I need to make sure that I always come back. But the goal is not to stray.
Right. And I think on like when you were talking about your like the transparency and the pricing, it also helps you as far as knowing your worth and standing on business. Woo. Once you put it out there and it's public, then you now as the business owner have to stand by there. So it keeps you, or it's kind of like a safety to push you from giving discounts and taking less than what you, and that takes time. Like in the beginning, like I said, I was not charging what I should be charging, doing all kinds of free work and, just killing myself.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm having the volume of clients that I should have, but my bank account is not reflecting that, right?
Because you're doing too much for free.
Doing too much for free, or giving the hookup and friends and family and all these things. And I had to learn my value, but I had to do that personally, that work first. And then that spilled over into my business. So now that I know my worth and my value just as a woman in general, then that came into the business. And so this last year, I went and raised all my prices. I asked little ChatGPT to help me put it into packages and do what I needed to do. And this was my first year implementing that. So we did fewer returns, maybe just a smidget, maybe 5% less, but we doubled the income. And so that showed me, I didn't lose many people. I think only one client that I lost over price, right? And someone else came that same day and paid that full price and didn't blink an eye, right?
You hear me?
So you have to know your value. And like you said, once you do, then now I catch myself. Before, if a client would be trying to haggle with me over a price or trying to argue with me about something, I would be, well, here, let me see what I can work out. And now, okay, well, thank you. No, that's not going to work, but you have a wonderful day. And if you need a referral for someone else, I'll be happy to send it to you.
Exactly.
Like, no problem, no question. You do what you need to do, because if that client doesn't want to pay your price, or if that client, whatever, it was not your client.
It was not.
God did not send that client to you. And so it's okay. And also knowing when to tell a client no, like fire clients, or know when to tell clients no. That's a new concept that as business owners, I think sometimes we don't realize early on. We want to just take everybody, but that's just not the case, because some of it is just not worth the hassle.
I completely agree with you, Toya. When you expect with all of it, that was a lesson that I'm gonna go back to the first thing, not giving discounts. I learned that lesson in my concierge nursing business down in Miami. I could tell this story. When you give discounts, people are never happy, and so they're gonna want you to do it cheaper, because you can do it cheaper. But what I would say is, when I do it cheaper, I know that what my overhead cost was. I knew my cost of living. I knew the cost of supplies, and because I like to use quality everything. So when I do lymphatic massage, I'm using like organic things, and I'm mixing them together. It's not like just one product; it's several. And even the juices that I use to take to my patients and stuff like that. I'm not using cheap quality, because the things that that I'm bringing to you, I've actually researched. And I absolutely believe in.
Right.
So I'm willing to pay the price, because I do that, like you said, in my personal life. I don't cut corners. Right. And so when you're giving discounts, I learned, I had a girl that what she did, she talked me into giving her a discount, or giving her like one of the days for free. And you don't ever give anybody any of your time for free unless you're volunteering. But if it's business, stay business in it, because it is literally costing you something. You could be making money somewhere else. And what the young lady did, not only did she take advantage of it, but she had brought someone down there with her. She brought a child down there with her.
Oh, wow.
After having cosmetic surgery, and the child was scared to death. And so I end up having to stay longer than what I should have, because being a good person that I am.
You over babysitting on
I'm
top of
babysitting because I got to get this lady because that first day they come out of there, it don't look so good sometimes. They're fine. I know that because I'm a nurse and I know what to look at. But this is a baby. I've had moms call me last minute. I'm scared. You hear me? And so think about this as a child. Like I'm talking about 11 years old. And you done brought this child down here to take care of you. And so I couldn't in goodwill just leave this child with his mom going through this until I got her to a point where she was at least stable and able to communicate to a child what was going on. But I said, I do understand that God allowed it to happen. It was meant for me to be there, but it taught me a lesson because that was one client. That was a problem that I wouldn't have had to solve had I not, did
the discount.
Reduce my standard. You see what I'm saying? I said first things go bad, then they go to hell. That's what I tell my kids. So that's what happens when you deduct your standard, when you keep letting your standard down. But that's what happened. And so that was a learning lesson for me because certain clients I didn't want. And so the next thing is, like you said, I start taking my prices up because certain clients that was going to automatic. They're like, I don't want to pay that. Good. But then, like you said, I had clients that paid it with no questions asked. They was happy to give them to me and tip me on top of it because they understood. But that was one of the things that my business coach gave me is that she said, when you don't like, if the clientele is giving you too much problem, you haven't, and you too stressed out, she said, take your price up. And every time I did that, it weaned out people that I did, and my process became smoother and smoother. But just learning, like you said, learning not to give discounts, learning that that's not, if you got to bend all sorts of ways to get that person in there, that's not your client.
And when you discount to others, and that's not to say, I hate to make it sound like, obviously I work with people, we do all the things, we have the Klarna, we have all the stuff, but when you work for free or you gravely discount yourself, what you're telling that other person is that you're not valuable.
Exactly.
And so now they're going to deal with you
like you're not valuable,
as if you're not, versus when you build your value in what you do, then the person is going to operate with you the same way. I always say when you decide how you want to be treated and what your standard is,
absolutely,
then people have two choices. They either get on board,
or they can leave you alone.
Or they leave you alone.
You hear me? Or they leave you alone. And never forget that. Never let anything in life make you forget those things. And it doesn't matter whether it's families, friends, or relationships. Either they can get with the program or they can get left. And I always say that I only work with people that work with me. And so sometimes in life, like people try to be like, oh, well, it's difficult. Work with people that work with you.
Like I support my business clients. Like I always try to share their stuff. I also try to use their services. And then I have a client wall in my office for all the business cards of all the businesses that I deal with. Cause I can tell you how many times somebody's sitting there and it's like, dang, I need to get a roof on my house or whatever. I'm like, boop, I got somebody for you. Or this or that. So if you reward those, like you said, it's like we work for each other.
There's still a reward. There's still a reward system, and it doesn't have to be a discount.
Correct. Yes.
And the thing is, when you really want to help somebody, don't look for a discount. Because especially with business, businesses that are owned by one person or maybe two people, they're earning every single dime that they make, and so they still have different overhead costs, but if we want to pour into somebody, don't always be looking for what you can get out of it. They're giving you something, whether you realize it or not, a service.
Right.
You're actually getting a service. And so appreciate that, value that person for what they're giving you, and pay the price. And you know what? You don't, and I always say sometimes when people always need a discount, it literally comes from a mindset of lack. God is not running out of nothing. He's not running out of money. He's not running out of opportunities. He's not running out of jobs. He's not business. There's no lack in anything. And so when you understand that, I always tell the Lord, I say, this is the cost of it. I want to be able to pay it. I'm not ever looking for a discount because I know God has promised to provide all my needs where this becomes a need. So, I need more. You hear me? That's how I look at it.
Right.
And then I also say, like you said, with the clients, God is never offering you less. And that was a lesson that I had to learn even recently. I was like, I said, what do you know about the character of God? I said, this person in this situation was offering me less because it was like a business relationship and then it was like another type of relationship. And I was like, I should have knew then that God never offers you less. Not only that, he always exceeds your expectations.
That's right.
And so just realizing that that's the character of God and that's the character of God in everything and all your dealings with him.
Yes.
Building trust.
We just did that.
Okay, did we? Challenges and lessons. What challenges have you faced as a woman entrepreneur in the financial service space? And what lessons have you learned along the way?
A lot. One of the things was as a woman, but also as a Black woman in that space. In my prior job that I was at, I was the only, Black soul in there. Yes. But I was running the show. But I've had times where clients would walk past me to the people who were working for me and say, no, I want them to help you. Or I would always have to keep my degree on the wall and I would get asked questions like, how long have you been doing this? Where'd you get your degree from? Blah, 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 blah. That other people who did not look like me didn't have to answer. So that's one thing, just always having to prove yourself. But then when I'm from Bardstown originally, but my business is here in Louisville and I decided to move here and it's been very hard to find, until recently, but at first it was hard to find mentorship and just camaraderie between other accountants, because there's a lot of times, you want to share information with one another. Like, what would you do in this case? Or what would bounce ideas? I'm sure y'all do that in the nursing. Like, with this client, what would you do in this case or whatever?
Absolutely.
And it was like, oh, no, you're competition, so I can't share information with you or whatever. And it was like, no, there's, like you said, there's plenty of clients out here for all of us. And your client is not necessarily my client. So just finding my village and my support system. But I've been trying to push myself and get out of my comfort zone. So lately I've joined like some networking groups and, trying to do more things to get out in the community. And now I am starting to find mentorship. But then I've also built my own mentorship like academy. So now I have girls reaching out to me and I'm not treating them, the way that I was treated. And I'm like, no, here, let me teach you. Let me share with you this thing. Because again, if I pour into you, it's only going to pour back to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to try to stop that. But just really just trying to be an encouragement to others and then find my own encouragement. That sometimes has been a challenge.
I can definitely, I can definitely identify with that. I laugh because like you said, sometimes it can be hard finding your group of people that you fit in with. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Or that, especially when it comes to the business world, because people kind of will. And I'm a really friendly person. So,
me too.
Like in Miami, I think I was able to pick up a lot of different people that I'm still cool with in the same business that I did because we were first getting started. And we would like you said, I would call one of my friends that was down. I'd be like, I'll call a C. Like, I'd be like, hey, C, I got this patient. I remember I was scared to go see this patient because he told me to come see him. I was going to do a lymphatic massage. And he told me to come see him sometime. It had to be anytime after 6. And it was something else. I don't know, but I was scared because he was a man and, he was telling me when to come see it. But I don't make decisions out of fear, but I do use caution.
Amen.
So I'm telling my friend that has her own concierge nursing business down there. And I'm like, what do you think? She said, this is what we going to do. I'm going to call you before you get down there. She said, girl, go ahead and give it a lymphatic massage. She said, I'm going to call you when you get down there. She said, I'm going to call you at a certain time because, I know you should be out there. I had my location on so she could always find me. And so I went ahead and she, but I might not have went had I not talked to her.
Had that encouragement.
Had I not had that encouragement. Let me tell you how that turned out. The reason why he told me to come after 6 is because the parking was free after that time.
Oh.
And then and I don't mean this no certain way, but when I got there, he was a man, but he was, how you can tell something that they're gay. I was so happy. He expect me, but I tell you, he was absolutely perfect as I knew he would be. He helped me set up my camera so that I could get, massage him because I did his neck area. He had lipo to his neck. He helped me set up my camera. He videotaped. He literally did it on his iPad and everything. But had I not had that, like you said, camaraderie and basically sisterhood in my business, that might have been client that I didn't take because I wouldn't have had nobody having my back.
Right.
Two, I wouldn't have had like even her words. Go, girl, go ahead and do it. And she gave me a plan.
Yes.
And we had worked. And same thing with her. Like sometimes she would be double booked and she would need me to slide in there, to take care of the patient. I'd be like, I got you. Between this and that, I got you.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. And so that's
even when you're not on the same team per
Even
se,
when
as
you're not
far
on the
as
same
like
team.
working the same business, we can help each other.
we can help each other. And it always turned out well. And so even another girl that I was able to work with, I was able to encourage her to go back to nursing school. And so now she's a whole RN now. And I was like, I said, because she had the business when she was super young, like 21. I was like, you are dope. I said, get that degree. I said, if you this smart in business, I said, all you need is those initials. She was dope in the business thing. And so she went back. Next thing you know, she got that RN. But like just like you said, just finding the people that are your. And I was a little bit worried about because sometimes I'll be like, well, I'm not really in a sorority, and I don't have anything again. I'm just not in one right now. I said so. I didn't really have the community to, where you would share and stuff, your business stuff like that. And so the Lord was like, well, right now, work with what you got, build your own. And so ideally crazy, like I meet so many people and so many different things. And when it puts me out there, like a lot of networking opportunities, like I'm going to a lot of different things that people invite me to, and that presents opportunities for me to network.
Yeah.
And so, whenever you don't have something, build your own. Just be, I'm a friendly person. The Bible said, if you want friends, show thyself friendly. So I'm friendly in general. And like you said, a lot of times God will put you in position so that is in that very area you go back and help. And so when you didn't have a community or had a hard time finding mentorship, you built your own and you were able to give somebody what you needed.
Right.
In that time.
And now I'm getting it.
And now you're getting it. And they'll help you because even with that, especially with younger people, they're always going to have brighter, newer ideas, and that keeps you fresh and new and gives you, and just like you can teach them from experience, they can teach you on what's the latest and what they've been hearing.
Yes. And like we were talking about earlier, like with the transparency and all that stuff, like if you just be yourself, like I had to learn that as well, because like you're doing this and you do great with your social media and all that. I'm trying to do better, and I would say, oh, I'm going to record more videos and I'm going to do these things, but I would second guess myself and delete and whatever. And I had to learn, just press record.
Just press record.
It's okay. Like the people what attracts people to me is my down to earthness, is my country twang, is
She's
all
so
those
sweet. That's what she is, a very sweet
is
person.
all those things. And so it's like, why are you trying to, switch that up? No, just be yourself and the people will gravitate to you. And same with like speaking and teaching. I want to do these things. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know everything. And it's like, but Toya, you know a lot. Don't second guess yourself on the things that you do know, so I think us encouraging one another as women, like sometimes you might not even know who's watching you thinking like, oh, she's doing it. I think I can do it too.
Absolutely.
But also giving each other props, like, hey girl, you doing your thing, keep doing it or whatever. That's encouraging because again, we all have our own stuff going on personally. You never know what somebody's going through that day. And just you telling them that they look cute today, or girl, I loved your video. It really helped me. Or thank you for showing me that, or whatever might change a whole person's trajectory for that day.
It does. When I tell you, it absolutely does. My best friend has shared stuff with me, even with this, because sometimes if people ain't liking and stuff like that, you be like, maybe they just watching, but they're annoyed by it. But my best friend said she'll come back. She'll be like, yeah, the lady from our job watched the video and she really loved it. Like I've literally only had positive feedback from this. Right. And I wanted to pause for just a second to say this. I mentioned that the first thing that I noticed about you was that you're a mother, but no, you have a light to you. You're very, and I don't say things that I don't mean about people. I don't say nothing. But you have a light and you're very welcoming. You can tell that you're a very genuine person. And so absolutely just you doing it, just you opening up yourself, you're going to draw people because you're already welcoming. You have that come hither type of feeling. You know what I'm saying? Well, I've been
used to say, come to the bosom.
I was like, when we came, I really hadn't met anybody else, but she was the first one that we exchanged numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and was talking to me and stuff outside of, Simone, because I already knew Simone. But like, you have that, like, come here. That even when I met your sister,
oh, she was
the same way. And so I was like, yeah, you already have that light, and you definitely draw people to you just by being a really good person. Because that's another thing. I was like, she's a really good person. on the inside of you. You know what I'm saying? That just that alone, it just shines out. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes you gotta say that because you need to know that everybody pretty much sees that. So sometimes you know that the people around you see it, but like it's your light is so bright that everybody sees it. That's what you give off, and you give off a warm feeling. Because I just explain stuff better by how I feel,
Right.
A warm feeling. And so absolutely. And one thing I love about my show is that this is done with the cell phone. Like I am so new to this. There's no fancy equipment. There's like a little light and a ring light. So absolutely record yourself. Start anywhere because this is what we got.
I was just telling Rachel before we started, like with my sister that passed, she had started her TikTok and she had a podcast as well. And it was like motivational, kind of similar to yours. And she just started doing all these videos and she had got up to like 50,000 followers, and to us as family, we like, girl, what you doing on them videos? But people, yes, and people when she passed, we got messages from people in London, people all over the world saying how she helped them and encouraged them. And her videos right now are still going viral and doing all this stuff. And it's like, you never know who you're having an effect on. You know what I'm saying? And even if, like you said, people don't like a video or you're not getting the streams, you don't know if you press record that day, who watched that and who didn't kill themselves or didn't do whatever they were going to do that day, or did go do the thing that they've been wanting to do and needed that motivation to do it. So just like you said, press record or do your thing, whatever it is that's your thing, just do it because you never know who you're having an effect on. You never know. And it's a positive effect on yourself.
Every time I do this, I feel good. When I tell you, I miss it anytime that I'm not doing it. When I pour into others, God always pours back into me. Because that's one thing I always say is that God never gives you anything. He never lets you outgive him. That's one thing I was telling my friend, but it was in another situation today. But he never lets you outdo him. And so when I pour into others, it feels so good. You say, why do I do it? It really does feel good to me. And so what it is, I know for a fact that God has let my message, whether somebody likes the video or not, I know it's helping somebody. I know that for a fact. I know that eventually he'll let it take off if that's what it's meant to do. And I know that it is. Right. And it might be in a different form. But I know that it's going to do what God has for me to do. And like she said with her sister, like, those positive messages that you send, so much is going on. And stuff like that is worth its weight in gold. You hear me? Because the outside can't flourish without the inside being okay. And you'll see how people's life just starts to spin out when that inside is just deteriorating. Right. So people like your sister who have sent positive messages out, you don't know, like you said, you don't know who it touched and when it touched them and at what point of their life they were in. Right. So I think it is so like divinely amazing that even in her departure, she has left her mark on the world. And not only was it a mark, it's a good mark.
Yes, and she left us like kind of a video tribute. Like we can at any time. I can literally right now, as soon as I go on my TikTok, it's in my feed. So I always get to hear her voice. Her son always gets to hear her voice, and it's always a positive voice, And so that's couldn't ask for anything more.
He's already got it. So, how does Truth Taxes give back to or impact the community you serve?
So I do, again, big on education. So I go into the schools a couple of times a year and teach like the seniors how to fill out their W-4s and we basically do their first tax return with them and teach them how to do it. But I am working currently on a financial literacy program, and I would really love to get it into like the school system. So JCPS, Nelson County, where I'm from. So if anybody's out there and knows how to help me with that, then that would be wonderful. And then also my mentorship. So I have Truth Tax Academy, where I teach others who either already have an accounting office or want to get into taxes, how to do it. I help them get their virtual office set up, all the things. And then if you already have one, maybe you just do individual tax returns, but you want to learn how to do corporate or partnerships, or you want to learn how to do bookkeeping. So I'm just trying to do more of the speaking and
Education.
teaching and educating for others.
Okay. That's dope, especially when you mentioned. I just said to my daughter, because she's 16 now and she's working a job. I said, well, this year you'll claim yourself on your taxes. I
No,
said,
don't let her claim herself.
Don't-
She can still file and get her money. but
Okay.
You claim herself.
I need to claim because I've been taking care of her. Girl, it's
Yes,
been
you
one
can
bill
claim them
after
until they're
another.
24 if they're in college.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
good. And see, I didn't know that.
Yes.
See,
She'll just
I
file
learned
and
something.
get her little money, but
okay.
you
Get to
still claim.
it.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
I love that.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, goodness, I could have been claiming my son for the longest.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we can go back 3 years and amend them.
You know what I mean? So I just learned something. Do you see what I say? When you give, God gives back. I just learned something sitting here right now, because I was like, Lord, I said my tax bill is gonna go up if I can.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, and I will be reaching out to Toya. I said I'll probably do it my personal first because it ain't much to do there. But eventually, when my businesses take off, like you said, I always like to, especially when I know the character of people. I like to work with people that I know that has good character. And like she likes to teach. I like to learn because I always say that any part that you have in your life, you need to know a little bit about it.
No, I have a 30-minute new business consultation and it's free.
Okay.
And you can do it virtually or you can do it in person. A lot of people like it virtually, but it literally usually answers 90% of the questions that most business owners. We talk about the difference between way you could be structured. So you hear everybody say be an S corp or be a LLC or be this or be that, and what's the differences and what does that mean?
Okay.
It talks about sales taxes, because now there's a lot of sales taxes that people have to file for service businesses that people didn't know you were supposed to. Like now, if you have a business and you do cleaning or you do tattoos, you're supposed to be charging sales tax where they didn't used to do that. And then it talks about what can you write off and what can't you write off. So just those few things, and that's a free consultation. So you don't have to do any work with me after. There's no pitch at the end. It's just a way to educate, because again, I want businesses to be successful and be able to understand.
So they can come back.
Yes, because at the end of the day, if you act right and do the things I'm telling you to do and learn a little bit, that saves me at tax time, because now it's not such a mess, right?
Yes,
Because you understand. And so, so anybody can do those free, and I do a free individual consultation that's 15 minutes. So if it's just your individual taxes, no business or anything, but you just have some questions or want to talk to somebody, 15 minutes.
And you know what? What I heard you say is that it's almost better to come at the beginning, even before the business is making any money.
Yes. It's better to come before you even set it up. I can do all of that. So I can register your business, do all the things.
Okay.
But definitely, if you've already got it registered, or maybe I find a lot of people have reserved an LLC years ago, but they've just never done anything with it, right? Now they're ready to do something with it. Come and definitely talk. Because there's a lot of things, like in Kentucky, for instance, every time you click that button and register an LLC in the state of Kentucky, you're supposed to pay them $175 every year, no matter what.
That's what they want.
Whether you have $0 or $1 million. So one girl, I opened up her one stop and she had 12 LLCs out there. And I was like, girl, what you doing with all these LLCs? And she was like, well, I just reserved this name and that name. So I thought maybe one day, well, yes, $175.
Lord.
And so a lot of times people don't know. So those are just small things, but those types of things to know to do.
I'll be there next week.
So that you can do those things and save you money on the front end, so that you're not having to then, because if they dissolve you, then it's all kinds of money to get it reinstated. So whereas it might be just $15 every year to keep you in good standing. So simple things like that is kind of the things I'm talking about. Just making sure everybody knows those basic things for the business, so that you're not just out here creating extra bills when we ain't got the coins to be giving them.
We don't have the coin. I'm telling you, and I think sometimes they make money off of you, but you don't know.
They do, because a lot of times, with sales tax, they'll do what's called a jeopardy assessment. So say you're supposed to be filing sales tax, or maybe you're not, you just created it and didn't know that you created it, and you don't file. They just make it $1,000. They just make up a dollar amount and they say, you owe us $1,000. Well, people will get that bill in the mail and just pay it because they're scared and think, oh, I owe it, when all you need to do is just file a zero return and that bill goes away.
Right.
So they play on your fear and send you those scary letters, and then you don't really actually need to pay the stuff. So,
and I want to say this, for people that keep saying I can do my own. I believe that it's much easier to pay cheaper to pay somebody to do it the right way than to have to learn the wrong way. So that's why I said I always invest in your taxes is a part of your finances, and it's a way of stewarding what you have well. And so,
and I'm always, again, transparent. I tell people, you can, if you're just a basic single person, no, business, no rental properties, just a W-2, you could do your return on TurboTax. Like, it's not like you can't. I'm not going to sit and say, oh, you have to come to me, whatever. But if you have special situations or, things like that, you might want to consult somebody, whether it's just to ask questions or whatever, because you'd rather fix it on the front end than, and the IRS is in no hurry, honey. They'll wait 2-3 years to send you a bill.
Don't mind.
And I tell people one more thing all the time, because, if y'all don't heard nothing I say today, just because the IRS gives you the money on your return, does not mean they believe what you put on there, right? So a lot of times people will go to these people that are doing it out their house or whatever, and she got me whatever because she threw all this crap on my taxes that I really don't even qualify for, right? And I got the check, so I'm good. No, 3 years from now, because they're like 2 years behind. When you get that letter, now you owe plus 3 years of interest. Woo. And if you let someone do it who isn't an actual licensed professional, who just does it on TurboTax or whatever, it says self-prepared. So guess who the IRS is looking for? You. Not them. Me, my name's on every one of them. So I'm just as responsible as you are. And so I think those are some of the things to just look for when you're trying to figure out who to let in your business.
And when. So when you think about the next 5 to 10 years, what's your vision for Truth Taxes and for your own legacy as a businesswoman and mother?
Well, I just recently passed the first part of the EA exam. And EA, thank you, stands for Enrolled Agent. So what that means is, I know y'all have probably heard CPA before. EA, CPA, kind of synonymous. But the EA is the highest recognition that the IRS gives. And so basically what that will allow me to do is have representation rights in front of the IRS. So if something does come up, or say you had old tax bills and you want to negotiate with them, or you want to go to the tax court and petition them, I'll be able to go do that for you. So instead of just preparing or whatever, I'll be able to help with the back taxes and help with all those things. So the goal is to pass the other two parts before the end of this year. Might be January because life been lifing. And so that's one of the things that's on the horizon.
Absolutely.
The other thing is growing. So we just moved into a larger space in our current building. And like I said, I have one girl who works with me, Lakin. She's amazing. And I'm about to bring on another girl. So just trying to grow our team so we can help more businesses and more individuals. And then also for myself personally, the goal long term is to get them to where they can do a lot of the day-to-day things. So that will free me to do my gift more, which is to speak and to teach and to travel and to do those things. So that's what I look forward to. And also personally, I love to travel. Travel is my happy thing. I work so I can go somewhere. And so I would love to be able to, like, we all have motivation. So for me, I work hard and I want the money so that I can have the freedom. It's not so much about the physical things for me, and no judgment if it's what it is for you. But for me, it's about having that freedom, the freedom to be able to move how I want to move, travel when I want to travel. And so that's the long-term goal for me.
I completely understand. So that's what I always say. I say that I want the money for the access.
Right.
I said, and you said for access, I want access to everything. I want access to exceptional healthcare because honestly, as a healthcare provider, I know there's a difference between, and it shouldn't be, but there is. I always say there's what it should be and there's what is. And so I acknowledge what is.
Right.
I want access to, like you said, travel in different places because I do feel like travel is another form of educating yourself. The more you see, the more you learn the different ways that people do things. Like it's always very informative. I love that. Part of being a travel nurse has helped me in my nursing and my skill set because I've lived in different environments and I, where I've been boots on the ground doing it this way. And I know like, oh, you have to worry about this. Like the unforeseen things that only experience can give you because you would have never said it if you were just sitting at the table doing it. But because you've been in it, you've done it and you know what it looks like. And so just access the more money you get, the more access to the information. You can hire people that teach you different ways to do things to grow your money. So you always have to spend money to make money, is what they say. And I absolutely believe that. But and I definitely would love to see you. And I know that it's already done, that all the things that you're hoping for is already done, especially in the school system where you're going in and you're teaching the children about how to do taxes, because those things are the best way to give back. Yes, we like to give them clothes and stuff like that, but actually making sure that their future is set by teaching them finances, because that's how you take care of yourself.
Well, in this generation, they're hustlers.
They are. I'm talking about
They all
young
have
millionaires.
businesses
They
and
don't
doing
play.
things. And so teaching them early, you know, they're way
needed.
ahead of
They
where
are.
we were
They
at their
are.
age. So they, like even my, children, thankfully, my sons are way like investing and doing things that I'm just now learning, credit and all these things that we're learning in our 40s that they are already hip to. And so that's what you want. You want the next generation to be farther ahead than where we are. And also like the technology piece, I think I didn't mention that, but like, so how you said you got to spend money to make money. A couple years ago, I kind of paused on taking new clients and I went backwards. I always say sometimes you got to take 2 steps back to take 5 steps forward. And I said, I want the freedom. So what do I need to do with my business to allow me that freedom? And it was, I need to put my systems in place. Like, yeah, I have this knowledge, but is my systems intact to where I can drop anyone in my system and they should be able to continue doing what I'm doing, right?
Absolutely.
And so I invested in a CRM and in my technology. So now, like, you can literally go on my website, upload all your documents, completely do your intake form. We file your tax return. We do a video review call. You pay on, everything can be done online.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You never have to leave your house. And that's even businesses. My bookkeeping clients, my payroll clients, they all can do everything. Right. We have the office if people want to come, but allowing yourself that freedom. Yeah. So that I want to grow that more,
Absolutely. Because it worked for them, we'll say. And I always look for businesses that work with me. And sometimes, like you said, with them being business owners, they might not have the time to come into the office, but it's there if they want it.
Yeah.
And so anytime you're doing stuff like that, it's always innovative and thinking out, 5 years or 2 years. And a lot of times, like you said, what helps you? And that's how she created a better system for her clients, is basically what was better for her. How could she work better?
Yeah, because I could work smarter, not harder. Because now I could do more returns. Because if people are submitting those online, I could be working on that at midnight. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the person sitting right in front of me to where I have to do it right then and there. And then I can hire girls. Like I have a girl that works for me in New Jersey, but she can work virtually. So it's okay because I can say, hey, those returns are out there in the portal. Go do this, that, or whatever. And so that flexibility. So I'd encourage anyone out there, like if there's something that you want to do, see if there's a way to make that flexible to your needs and what you're trying to do. So then you can work, like with me traveling with my son, I can be in the Cayman Islands, or I can be, this week I'll be at Murray State where he's at and working and teaching class while I'm in the hotel rooms, because you can be wherever you need to be if you add that virtual component to your business.
And even like with scaling my business, one of the things I wanted to do is eventually, yes, we're operators and owners, but I don't want to operate it afterwards. I just want to own it. And so getting my system, what I like about it, like getting my systems into place and how I want it to be done. So that's kind of an important component, because yes, I did it in Miami, but it might look a little bit different here in Louisville, Kentucky. So at the beginning, I want to do it so that I know which systems to put in place and how to do it so that I can be somewhere else. And I was even talking to my business partner about that, like building different legs onto the business.
Right.
And that's important. Like you said, having an idea of what you want to, where you want to be 5 years out, because wherever your mind is thinking, that's where your interventions are headed. So it's always good to, the Bible says, write a plan and make it clear.
Yeah.
And you'll see those things start to turn out. Because with a plan, even when stuff doesn't work, you don't have to just scrap the whole plan. You can go back and see, like, hey, where did this work? Where did it not work? And fix those little pieces. But that was our last question for today. I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank you so much for coming. I want her to mention her business again. And I look forward to all the things that you have. And I know that I know they're already working. And I can't wait to see the scale that you're going to do it on, because the education part alone is needed, especially with what's going on. People are going to have to know how to steward their funds a little bit differently.
Yes, we're all watching intently to see what's happening right now. Well, no, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for listening. And if you would like to reach out to us, so it's www.truthtaxes.com, or on all social media, it's Truth Taxes or my name, Toya Traynor. You can also text or call us at 502-264-8863.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you guys know that once I interview somebody, I'll follow their information. So everything they post, I post. And sometimes even like I might reach out and be like, hey, do you have anything? But I always like to support my guests, because not only, like I said, I'm building my own network. I want you to be able to come to my page and see, hey, I need somebody that does this, that, and the other. And so you've kind of already interviewed her. You know what you're getting.
I forgot to mention this.
Go ahead.
Kentucky got extended, you guys. So because of the floods way back, the tax deadline, if you filed extensions, was October 15th.
Okay.
But we're November 3rd. So if you still need to file your taxes, you're not late.
Okay.
So wherever you go, just know, get it in before November 3rd. November 3rd, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for that tip. I'm probably going to write it underneath her just so people can see.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon. I love you guys. And thank you for the opportunity again.